finance and international economics. This is one of the basic discipline core subject for your fourth semester. So in this, two parts are there. One is related to the public finance and next topic is related to the international economics. In public finance, there are different topics are there, like that of public expenditure, public revenue, and public debt, and fiscal policy, federal finance, and budget. So these are all to be discussed eventually in further classes, and how they are going to be working out in our present Indian scenario also we are going to discuss. So let me first discuss and understand about the basic meaning of the public finance. What is public finance? Generally, public finance is nothing but calling as the government finance. Public is nothing but government. That is related to all the community members of the society. So in this manner, public finance is nothing but the governmental finance. So in generally, if you think about this thing, for example, as of an individual, I have to incur some expenditure for my day-to-day activity. So I am going to put on expenditure. For that purpose, I arranged my income or revenue. That revenue is nothing but my revenue. That expenditure is nothing but my expenditure. Whenever my expenditures are more, incomes are less, then I go for the borrowing. That is nothing but calling as the my debt or my borrow. Like that only, every organization, even though government also going to incur expenditure, creates its own income resources or revenues. Whenever incomes are less, it is going to borrow the money from market also. In this manner, the government is basically like us having the three components. That is nothing but the public revenue, or it may be called as the income of the public. And the next one is the public expenditure. When incomes are less, expenditures are more, government will go for the borrowing. That is nothing but calling as the public debt. So in this way, public finance is going to be constitute three basic components, that is revenue, expenditure, and debt or borrowings of the government also. So in this manner, the concept of public finance is become one of the branch of economics. You know that in these three areas, the importance of activities and other things are day by day growing as well as increasing also. So that only the subject concepts of public finance become more important, more demanded. So here the public finances may be the combination of two words. One is the public, other one is the finance. As we already discussed that public is nothing but the government, finance is nothing but the resources of government. In this manner, public finance become the resources of the government. So that the subject concepts of public finance is going to explain about the finance of governmental organizations, how they are going to be take out, who are going to be manage them. All these things are comes under the purview of the public finance only. So it is going to deal with its resources, how to raise the resources also, on what items it has to incur the expenditure, and how it has to take the credit or borrow the loans from different organizations at an appropriate time is going to be explained under the subject concept of public finance. In this way, it is one of the branch of comprehensive economics. It is going to deal with the finances of the government. So here, if we may see the definitions of different people, different economists, here there are various definitions are there. Out of them, according to Dalton, one of the public finance economists, Dalton has been given this definition. According to him, the public finance is going to deal with the incomes and expenditure of public authorities and with the agreement of one and other. That means here the government is going to put on its incomes or revenues. At the same time, it allocate its expenditure on that particular items, assigning both of them. With their assignment agreement, government is going to deal its day-to-day activities. So all of those definitions are clearly define the public finance is that it is related to the income as well as the expenditure problems of the government. So this is the basic meaning and definitions of the public finance. So after understanding this basic concept, now we will go for another one, that is the evaluation of public finance. What is the basic meaning of evaluation? Evaluation is nothing but the development. How the public finance got its development, how it is reached to the present position. That stages are nothing but calling as the evaluation of public finance. So you know that generally since ancient period or olden days, we are going to trace the roots of the public finance, because without finance, without resources, any economy or any organization cannot going to be sustained. But if you see these concepts for the first time, the classical economist Adam Smith has been recognized the importance of the public finance, and he said that it is one of the important branch of public economics also. In his book, he is going to specify or mention about the government expenditure, government debt, and systematic taxation methods. And in this manner, the Adam Smith has been given first in his book as the public finance related activities. So after him, David Ricardo Mill also explained about the basic tenets or characteristics of the public finance also. So in this manner, the classical economists have been given more importance, attached more significance to the public finance in the day-to-day activity. But afterwards, if we see the neoclassical economies, that is the neoclassical means new economies like Marshall did not done any systematic work on the aspects of the public finance. Even Marshall, the famous microeconomist, also did not mention, did not study anything related to the concepts of public finance. So that the thoughts of classical economy become one of the basics of the public economics. They become termed as the political economy in our ancient period also. But after that, after neoclassical economies, the publications of public finance economist Dalton Bastable books are going to be explained the concept of public finance in a systematic manner. They not only in a systematic manner, because of their validity, they become popular also. In this way, the concept of public economics gained the importance alternatively by different economists in the present scenario. But at the same time, you have to recognize that even though the classical economists have explained the basic concepts of the public finance, but they always wanted to restrict the role of government. That means they never advocate the advanced steps of the government in their day-to-day activities. They always wanted the balanced budget only, neither the deficit budget nor the surplus budget. What is meant by balanced budget? Balanced budget means where the expenditures and incomes of the government be equalized. So that only wanted by the classical economists particularly. And they also said that government should not allow the borrowing of finance from outside also, because they thought that such borrowing is nothing but the burden on the people of the country also. In this manner, even though Adam Smith and other David Ricardo has been given a systematic categorization of public finance explanation. They never given the important role of the state. They restricted the state as a police state only. That means that state is going to be act as a protection of the citizen. Nothing more is going to be done by the state also. This is the basic methodology or basic idea of the classical economist. But you know that this concept was afterwards drastically changed. In our macroeconomics topic, you studied that there was a Great Depression or recession was occurred worldwide during 1930s. So during that period, it was recognized that there will be the interference of the government. The market is not able to restore itself as the basic concept of the conventional or classical economies. So that during that period, to control the inflation, to restore the full employment level, there is a need of the governmental interference. Since then, the concept of government, the importance of government has been recognized by the people. So this concept of governmental interference should be must as been propagated by the Keynes, one of the famous macroeconomics also. Keynes is going to be explained about the aggregate demand, aggregate supply. That means the total demand in the economy, the total supply in the economy, macro level employment, macro level production activities are to be stabilized or are to be maintained without any fluctuation if government is going to interfere in the economic activity only. In this manner, the concept of the public finance and the governmental activity become one of the basic recognized part in the worldwide aspects also. In this manner, since olden days to the present day scenario, the public finances importance has been growing day by day. Not only that, you know that the present day governments are not the police states, they are the welfare states. That means they are going to involve in many economic welfare activities, so that the concept of this public finance has been increasing day by day also. So this is all about the basic concept of the evolution of public finance. Evolution is nothing but the development. How it was in the past, how it was get the present position. So after understanding this basic concept, now we are going to discuss about the next one, that is the scope of public finance. So first try to understand the basic meaning of the scope. Scope is nothing but the study matter which we are going to study. That is nothing but the scope of public finance. That means in public finance topic, what material or what themes, what materials are included in the public finance. That is totally considered as the scope of public finance also. The scope of public finance generally includes the activities and subject matter of the government. That is, in traditional definition of political, in traditional definition, the definitions of public finance are very narrow. That means they are never widened. They are only going to discuss about the incomes. They are only going to discuss about the expenditure and the tax system, that only. But they never analyzed broadly or widened the scope of the public finance also. But afterwards, as we discussed, few of the economists widened the scope of public finance and they have recognized the importance of public finance also. The new economists are the scope of public finance not only going to discuss about the basic things of revenue, basic things of borrowings or debts of government and the expenditures of government, but also these, how these things are government is going to be maintained, how they are going to be managed, how the physical policies of the government are going to be prepared, how the budgets are going to be prepared, how the budgetary policies of the government are also going to be prepared. In this manner, in a comprehensive manner or in a comprehensive way, the subject concepts of public finance in detailedly explain all about these aspects also. When we go for the discussion of the public finance, generally we are going to come across 4-5 basic aspects of the government. Those are nothing but the governmental revenue, governmental expenditure, as well as the governmental debt, governmental financial administrative system, and like that economic stability and economic growth. These are the basic topics come under the purview of the public finance. So in this manner, in the subject concepts of public finance, we are going to discuss governments or public's revenue. That is nothing but calling as the income of the government. In this topic or under this topic, we are going to discuss how the government is going to create its revenue or income. Under this, you know that there are basically two ways are there. One is nothing but the tax revenue Next one is nothing but the non-tax revenue. Tax revenue is related to the taxes levied by the government. Non-tax revenue or non-tax income is related to the concept of other than taxes income. That is administrative fees, license, and other penalties. So in detail, we are going to discuss about this public revenue in another subtopic. Not only these two things, government is also going to print the currency, create the currency also whenever its incomes are not going to be sufficiently fulfilled with the revenue sources of taxes as well as the non-tax revenues also. So basically, these all concepts, that is tax imposition, tax levying, as well as the other things like that of the non-tax issues, 100% show the influence macro levelly on the economic system. They are going to be either adversely or favorably show the influence on the economic system of the government also. For example, when taxes are going to be increased, the incentives of the entrepreneurs are going to be decreased. So there is a chance of reduction in the production activity. So it is the internal subject of the government, but indirectly related to the subject concepts of the public revenue only. So all these topics which we are discussed directly, indirectly, or explicitly or implicitly going to influence the activities of the government. We discuss all of them under the topic of the public revenue. Like that only, the next basic topic is nothing but the governmental expenditure. So you know that the acquiring of income or obtaining, gaining of income is nothing but for the expenditure only. The main aim or the main motto in getting or obtaining income is nothing but for the expenditure only. So that you could understand that whatever the income is going to be on, that is going to be put under the part of the expenditure also. So like that, government is also going to involve on different expenditures. It allocates its income and resources on different activities also. So these related topics are we are going to be discussed under the subject concept of public expenditure. Not only that, you know that generally whenever government is intervening, there is a chance of change in the circular flows of income activities also. So all these circular flows of activities, how it is going to be gained, put on expenditure, we are going to discuss under the subject concepts of the public finance under the banner of the governmental expenditure. Not only that, it is going to be explain the canons of expenditure. Canons are nothing but the rules and regulations. So how they are going to be done the expenditure. That part we are going to discuss under the subject of canons of expenditure and the problems and the related aspects of the modern government also. Because as we discussed earlier, modern governments, not the police states, these are the welfare states. Because of this only, there is the incurring of the huge expenditure on part of the government also. So these are going to be discussed under the governmental expenditure, how they are going to be increasing, what is the pattern of public expenditure, how they are going to influence the economic system. All these are macro level we are discussed under the concept of the public expenditure. So after this, public income or public revenue and public expenditure, the third one is nothing but the public debt. What is public debt? Generally, public debt is nothing but the borrowings of the government. When the government is going to borrow, you know that like a common man, when the incomes of the government are less, expenditures of the government are more, then to incur the excess expenditure, governments are going to be taken for the loan or go for the borrowing. That is nothing but calling as the public borrowing or public debt also. So nowadays, it is one of the integral part of the income gathering. Whenever economy incomes are not sufficient, generally governments will go for the public debt either in national local markets or outside of the country markets also. So outside of the country markets are nothing but international markets, and within the country it is to be called as the national markets. So whatever the people savings are there or community savings are there, they are going to be turned as the source of the public borrowing. In this manner, there will be a chance to government to incur in the expenditure activities also. Economists are always suggest the local market borrowings only, because local market borrowings are far more better when you compare to the international markets, because local market fluctuations are very less. They can be paid in the form of our rupee only when you compare to the international market fluctuations as well as the foreign currencies also. So this is all about the basic concept of the governmental debt. So here try to understand, governmental revenue is nothing but the government's income governmental expenditure is nothing but the expenditure of the government, and public debt is nothing but the government's borrowing. When the incomes of the government are not sufficient, in such occasions or cases, governments are going to borrow from the other markets, as like either may be local or maybe from the international markets. So the fourth part under the scope of public finance is nothing but the governmental financial administration. That means generally the subject concept of public finance is not only going to explain the major topics like that of public expenditure, public income and public debt, but also it is going to explain how to manage all these issues, who are going to be control them, who are going to be audit them. In this manner, the duties of and responsibilities of different organizations in the management of public finance are also discussed under the basic subject concepts of the public finance also. Like that, it is related to basic organizations or financial organizations of the government also. So whatever the resources are there, they to be utilized in a proper manner at an optimum level without any wastage. That means it is to be looked after by one particular organization. So what is that organization? Purview of that organization, activities and administration of that particular organizations are going to be discussed under the subject concepts of the public finance also. Not only that, under this financial administration, there are two important aspects are there. One is nothing but the financial plan. Financial plan is nothing but the budget plan. That means in this financial plan, the government is going to expect the anticipatory expenditure as well as the anticipatory incomes for future purpose, and it is going to be prepared in a systematic manner. That is nothing but calling as the annual financial statement, or it may be called as the budget. So that the government's main activity is to prepare the financial planning budget for its future aspect also. Under these financial activities, this preparation of budget is to be considered as one of the basic concept also. Not only that, it is to be approved by the parliament also. Whenever the legislature or parliament is going to be approved, then only the government has a chance to incur the expenditure on respective items. So all these things are comes under the purview of the basic financial administration of the government. So after that one, the next concept is that the economic stability and growth. So you know that generally the governmental activities and its importance has been growing, especially after 1930s worldwide depression or lack of production or recession. Whenever the interference of the government is must, then or from the time the importance of government has been increasing in its day-to-day economic activities also. So that the scope of public finance has been widening. It not only going to look after its own revenue, its own income, its own debt, but also it is going to study about the basic economic fluctuations also. For example, whenever there is an inflation, how to avoid the inflation from the economy. Whenever there is a deflation, how to avoid or remove the deflation from the economy. For this purpose, the government is going to prepare the physical policies to restore the stabilities or economic stability and occur the growth in the economy also. In this manner, the governmental activities related to all these finances are one of the integral part of the public finance. So these are going to restore the economy, create the full employment, encourage the economic system. Not only that, they are going